What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Bleeding BNG. Amazing times, exciting times over here in the Washington Commander community because to give you a time step as I do for all of my episodes, it is the morning of Friday, April the 25th, and it's around 10 a.m. It's around 10 a.m. And our Washington Commanders are about 11 hours removed from making Josh Conerly, offensive tackle out of the University of Oregon, the 29th overall pick, and the first round pick for the Washington Commanders in the 2025 NFL Draft. Josh Conerly, 6'4", 311-pound offensive tackle with 34 and plus inch arms. His arms are over 34 inches. And I think that wingspan kind of makes up for the little lack of size that he has as an offensive tackle prospect at around 6'4". But I like the pick. I like the pick a lot. I don't love the pick. And the biggest reason that I don't love the pick is due to the players that were on the board. I've heard all of the talk, and I've even spewed some of the narratives that, this draft didn't feature a lot of blue chip players. Well, I think there were a lot of starters and a lot of guys that could come and make instant impacts as rookies that were available at 29. And Josh Conerly can very well be one of those guys as well. But when you see the likes of a Mike Green that you never thought that was going to fall to you, you guys that have been checking out me as a supporter of Bleeding BNG, you guys know how I feel about Nick Emmanwori. When you check out those guys, you see a guy like Travion Henderson on the board, Donovan Ezaraku on the board. I'm never going to get mad at drafting a fat boy. I'm never going to get mad at a guy that smells like bacon, like Fred Smoot say, because you ultimately have to protect your investment in Jaden Daniels, the golden boy, number 5, that guy right there on the wall. But it's just the anticlimacticness, if that is a word, of the draft. It was the same thing when we didn't think that Christian Gonzalez was going to fall to us at 16 a couple of years ago. It's the same thing when Garrett Wilson went a pick before we traded back a few years ago. It's just the ebbs and flows of the emotion of the NFL draft, and it's all the more reason why it's one of TV's greatest shows that that gets put out annually, year in and year out. Like, I love the NFL draft. I'm super excited. I'm just as excited for night 2 as I was for Thursday night. But if you had a chance to see us in the war room with my guy Rio Robinson, an amazing draft night experience. We had our 5th one, where we met as a gang, as the group chat boys, and watched the draft commence. And, went through the emotions of picks of guys going that we thought might have been there at 29, guys that were there at 29 that we didn't end up picking. It was an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. So if you haven't gotten a chance to check out my guy Rio Robinson's draft stream, go ahead and do that and sub my guy up on his channel, even though he don't need him at 19K. He the GOAT for sure. But getting back to Josh Conerly, as I said, you ultimately protect your investment at Jaden Daniels, and that's the biggest reason why I'm never going to scoff and turn my nose up at this move. I'm never going to scoff up and turn my nose up, because you finally got the franchise quarterback. Now you got to do everything in your power to keep him upright, keep him clean, and keep him to, do everything that you can for him to reach his ceiling. So with that being in mind, I'm not bad at the Josh Conerly pick at all. That's why I said I like it, don't love it, and I'm much closer to love than I am to not liking the pick at all. Because as I've said throughout the offseason, the many videos that I've done, going into the 2025 offseason, and coincidentally going into the 2025 season, my approach is doing everything and making every move that I make with the intent and the thought in the back of my mind of competing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I told you, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles are that good. And while you shouldn't normally plan to build and construct a roster like this, I think that if you build a roster to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody else is going to fall by the wayside. That includes the Detroit Lions. That includes the Green Bay Packers, the San Francisco 49ers, or any other teams in the AFC. Like, I hate to say it, and I ain't even I was about to call them the king of the hill right now. I can't even say that. My burgundy and gold pride won't even let me do that. But they're the top of the NFL right now. So I think that if you build a roster to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, Every other team, every other contender, you're going to be able to be in a heavyweight fight in a bout with. You're going to be a contender in itself. And the move of drafting Josh Conerly and building in the trenches and souping up that offensive line. I believe that Adam Peters made that move with the intentions of building against the Philadelphia Eagles as well, and competing against the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Now, some of the reasons why I don't necessarily love the move and don't give it an A plus, I might give it a little A minus, a little B plus. But some of the reasons why I don't necessarily, why it wasn't my favorite pick that we could have made at 29 is because while I'm never going to scoff at an offensive lineman, this guy Josh Conerly, he has almost played exclusively at left tackle at the University of Oregon, and we know that Laramie Tunsil is pigeonholed. He's stonewalled into that spot. He's etched in stone as that left tackle, with him still being one of the premier left tackles in the game, going into year 10. He's pretty much etched in stone, and that's all that Laramie Tunsil plays at this point in his career. So it's given a sense of projection of what Josh Conerly can be, whether that be with him playing at the right tackle position or him moving to the interior and him playing right guard until Sam Cosmi comes back, or ultimately being the guy that gets Nick Allegretti outside of the paint and makes Nick Allegretti become a backup, because I think that's ultimately what is going to be destined for the future. And a front five, offensive line of Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biadasz, Sam Cosmi, and Josh Conerly is not a front five to scoff at. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a top 5 to 7 pass protecting unit in year one. In year one. Now, one of the biggest questions in the Washington community regarding the roster over the course of this offseason is, what are we going to be doing with Brandon Coleman after we traded for Laramie Tunsil? And I think our questions were answered after last night. I think, Brandon Coleman's future in the burgundy and gold is going to be at the guard position. And I'm not mad at that at all. That's something that I thought was going to happen in April of 2024. So to see it come to fruition in April of 2025, I am not mad at it all. We forget Brandon Coleman, when he was projected as a guard, had a 10.0 flawless raw athletic score. And we know how Adam Peters feels about those raw athletic scores. And Josh Conerly is not an athlete to snob at by any means. He's an elite athlete at the tackle position. Posted an 8.84 raw athletic score as well. So we're building along that front. We got bigger, we got faster, we got stronger, we got more athletic along the offensive line yesterday. So I'm never going to complain. I'm never going to complain. Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley, your days are numbered, my boys. Your days are numbered, my boys. Because as I said, that front five that I just put out there, Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biadasz, Sam Cosmi, Josh Conerly, eventually when Sam Cosmi comes back from injury, I have a lot more faith with that offensive line going against those demons along the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line than the defensive line, than the offensive line that we trotted out there in January in the NFC Championship game. I have a lot more faith in that than trying out Andrew Wiley and Trent Scott. So I do like the move. I like the move a lot, but I'm curious to see where we're going to put Josh Conerly's guy. As I said before, he played exclusively at left tackle position at Oregon, and he held up there really well. Like, that's his jig. That's his bag. He's an athletic tackle, and I've seen when I was scouting him before the draft, it seems to me as that he's more comfortable at that left tackle position. The way he gets into his jump sets, his pass sets, and things of that nature, it screams out prototype left tackle. So I'm curious to see where he plays along this offensive line. A couple of people that didn't love this pick put out the Senior Bowl clip where he got ran through his face by Mike Green. And if you notice, he was playing on the right side. He was playing the right tackle position. Somewhere where he clearly showed during a couple of Senior Bowl reps that he played over there, that it wasn't as natural to him as the left tackle position. And that's what Bobby Johnson's here for. That's what the coaches are here for. But I'm just curious to see, because I'll be a little bit more skeptical if this guy has to potentially move into guard. I think that's where Brandon Coleman's future is. But if he does have to move into guard and becomes a potential all-pro, Pro Bowl type player, taking a career arc similar to the likes of Brandon Scherf, I wouldn't be mad at that either. And you're spending the 29th overall pick on him as compared to the 5th overall pick with Brandon Scherf. So ultimately, night one of the NFL draft, round one of the NFL draft, was a success for the Washington Commanders. As I said before, just getting into Josh Conerly a little bit before we head on out. He is a great scheme fit. Like, this is the type of lineman that you want to draft for a Cliff Kingsbury offensive line. He's light on his feet. We've seen him scoring rushing touchdowns and catch passing touchdowns with the Oregon Ducks as well. So he's light on his feet. He's an elite athlete, and he's arguably the most athletic tackle that we've had since Trent Williams. Now, I'm not putting him in the realm of a Trent Williams because Trent Williams is an otherworldly athlete at the offensive line position. But for Cliff Kingsbury scheme that likes to run a lot of, GT counter, like to pull their guards and pull their tackles a lot, run a lot of passes at the line of scrimmage, bubble screens with the wide receivers, quick screens with the running backs. These are the type of, offensive linemen that you need. So it shows that, there's universal alignment between the front office and the coaching staff. There was even a clip that came out yesterday after Adam Peters' press conference. And I don't know if they were just doing this for the cameras. I don't know if it was play. I don't know. It seems a little too good to be true. But Adam Peters walked in with a note that he said Cliff Kingsbury left on his desk earlier in the week. And it said, draft the Oregon tackle, speaking about Josh Conerly. And that's what Adam Peters did. So it showed that the front office and the coaching staff is aligned, and everybody in that building is aligned because everybody seemed pretty happy in that new and updated war room. Did y'all see that new war room? We finally looking like an NFL organization. I can't wait for the Commander Log. I cannot wait for the Commander Log video to drop. That joint going to hit like crack in the 80s. That joint is going to hit like crack in the 80s. But moving on to round two of the draft and night two, round two and round three, actually, which will culminate tonight on Friday with rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 culminating tomorrow on Saturday. There's a lot of talent that's still left on the board, and it's one of the reasons why I didn't necessarily love this move, because of the players that are still left on the board. Donovan Ezeraku, Travion Henderson, Mike Green, my guy Nick Amenwari, Siobhan Rayville, Jaden Higgins. If you're able to walk away with one of those guys or a couple of those guys, if you trade back from 61 and end up with a Landon Jackson, I think that this move, this draft is ultimately a success with your first two picks. If you end up with either one of those guys that I just named to pair along with Josh Conerly, I don't see how you can walk away with anything less than a B minus. No matter what you do with the rest of the middle to late round draft picks. But I'm super excited. Welcome to Washington, Josh Conerly. This is a guy that's super young. He doesn't turn 22 until November, so he is Scorpio like me. So we're going to vibe out on the sidelines during training camp, because I think we able to relate. November Scorpios in specific, in particular. We just on a different wavelength. But yeah, he turns 22, so this is a young player. This is a player that you can mold into the type of lineman that you want to be. And this is one of the reasons why I don't think that they're necessarily worried about, him moving to a new position or flipping sides, because he's still early in his career arc, where he really hasn't had like a lot of information. Think of it like a computer. He hasn't had so much information programmed where like he's just stuck in his ways, and he's not willing to learn any new software or things like that. Like Bobby Johnson's going to be able to mold Josh Conerly into the offensive lineman that he and the Commanders want him to be. And before I head on out, I referred to it earlier in the video, but I just wanted to check out Josh Conerly's raw athletic score, because you know how Adam Peters gets with those raw athletic scores. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Because I said he tested as an elite athlete. And you see 8.84 raw athletic score. While his strength, his size grade was poor, I think that was due to his lack of vertical height, with him being only a 6'4" tackle. But with that wingspan, he has a wingspan of a tackle that's 6'5" and 6'6". That will put him around league average. But if you look at his composite speed grade, it's elite. That 10-yard split, which Dan Quinn and Adam Peters has told you is an important factor when they're scouting linemen, that get off ability and things of that nature, is elite as well. Damn near 5 flat 40-yard dash. So yeah, we got an elite scheme fit, nice young project offensive tackle that whose ceiling is out the roof. Like I think the if you want to get excited about the Josh Conerly move, the biggest thing to get excited about is what he can be come year 3 in the same system and what he can potentially be for Jaden Daniels. But that'll do it for Josh Conerly and our recap of round 1 and night 1 of the NFL draft. Let me know what you guys thought about the pick. Who are you guys looking for day 2? Where is Josh Conerly going to play? Is he our future right tackle? Are we kicking him in to guard a la Brandon Scherf, or is he the future successor for Laramie Tunsil, who I think he's getting a little longer in the tooth, and I don't know if we're going to re-sign him, but I don't think that he's going to be here past 5 or 6 years. He's not going to be a guy that's going to ride out his career with a guy like Jaden Daniels, like Josh Conerly can potentially do. But that'll do it for our recap of round 1. The Commanders select Josh Conerly. Solid move by Adam Peters. Excited to see what he can do for the rest of the draft. And as always, if you're not checking us out on social medias, what are you doing? Go ahead, hit that follow button at Bleeding BNG on Instagram, BLEEDING BNG, at Bleeding BNG on X, BLEEDINBNG. So it's spelled a little differently, only one G in our X handle. You can follow us on all audio only platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a ranking, leave a review. That's how we finesse these algorithms so that when you're searching anything Washington Commanders, Bleeding BNG is that #1 content hub that pops up on your search bar. And yeah, if you checked out this video and you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all the support on the road to 3K. And round 2, night 2 recap coming out sooner than soon. I'll check in on y'all on the flip side. Peace.